the Kawasaki ER6F, maybe better known as the Ninja 650. This has been a bike that has been talked about quite a lot, obviously, and that's not without reason. So in this video I've decided to make a review of my experience with this bike as a total beginner, and how both my experience and opinion have grown over my 9 months of owning and riding this bike. So let me get over the key points of this review real quick. I'm gonna start to talk about how I got to this bike, how I got to the point of finding this bike and deciding this was it. I'm gonna go over what I paid for it and what accessories it has. I'm gonna go over the total beginner experience of what it was like the first couple of weeks when I was riding it. I'll tell you what my thoughts about it are right now after 9 months and almost 10,000 kilometers ridden. My opinion and experience has changed. I'm gonna tell you guys, does it make a good starter bike? As a total beginner, just like I was, does it make a good starter bike? Then I'm gonna go after some afterthoughts, if I have some. Alright, let's get into it. How I got to this bike. When I was finishing up things for my driver's lessons, I started to look around to what bike I really wanted to ride. I'm the type of person to completely dive into things, so I started watching a ton of reviews about anything and everything. This way I narrowed it down to something I was interested in. For me, something that was very important from the get-go was the ergonomics, while retaining the looks. I really like the looks of sport bikes, but I didn't want that back pain and I didn't want to feel the wrists. I already have issues. From experiences with my motorcycle lessons already, I rode a naked bike, basically the naked variants of the Ninja 650. I knew I liked the handling of the naked bike, but at highway speeds, the wind wasn't cutting it for me. This is something I instantly noticed and I didn't want for myself. I did eventually try a Honda NC 750 at a dealership, but the problem pursued, and another arose actually. I actually like to take my girlfriend on the ride sometimes, so while having a back seat, on the naked bikes, the back seats aren't usually that good, that big, or that comfortable, so that was also a thing I should be looking out for. So I tried the R3, maybe the internet's most acclaimed best starter bike out there, probably hand in hand with the Ninja 300, 400, 500. I quickly discovered that, yeah sure, this was a fun bike, but even as a total beginner, maybe also because I rode a 650 for my motorcycle lessons, but still, as a total beginner on the road, I felt like I had to push the bike quite a lot to get some usable power out of this. At the moment, that wasn't the biggest problem. I could overlook it, but this was alone on the bike. And may I remind you, I want to take my girlfriend as a backpack on the bike. So I completely skipped the R3 and I also skipped my test ride with the Ninja 400, since this would probably have the exact same problem. So I narrowed it down even further. I want something with bearings, I want something that's ergonomic, something with enough but not dangerous amounts of power, and I still want it to look good. That's quite specific. In this search, I landed at the Ninja 650. In my eyes, this seemed like the do-it-all machine. To be fair, I was kind of scared about buying a 650 instantly because it can be quite a lot of power, but I tried it anyway. Okay, so what did I pay for the bike? The bike I ended up buying was the Kawasaki ER6F 2016 model with ABS, and it had some other doodads. It has heated grips, etc. The previous owner suited it out quite well with some nice stuff, and it was listed for 5,500 euros. Quite a lot of money for your first bike, but I thought it was worth it. The complete beginning with my bike. When you buy your first bike, you are totally in love. And so was I, of course. Even though it was winter, I rode it every time I got the chance to. Kilometers racked up fast, and so did my experience. When I first got it, the bike was still A2 restricted. This is something, especially what happens in Europe, it restricts the bike to 47 horsepower for starters. I don't necessarily have to comply with these rules since I'm old enough, but I left it for a while since it didn't bother me too much yet, and I was already kind of scared about the power, so it being restricted a little bit more actually was pretty nice. I got more and more comfortable on the bike, and the first time I'm really starting to notice that my bike isn't keeping up or it doesn't make enough torque is when I was riding in a big group with other people, with someone on the back, and all the bikes around me were not A2 restricted. They were all way bigger bikes, leader bikes, touring bikes, and when they were just casually accelerating, I had to fight to keep up. That is when I eventually got rid of my A2 restriction as well. I gained a lot of torque because of this, because the gas handle is just locked. You can't go further. So this restricts the torque mainly. So yeah, having this unlocked really helped a lot, but I think it was great to wait with it and first get comfortable with those 47 horsepower that you have and the less torque. Now the bike makes around 72 horsepower. I'm not sure if it actually does that anymore, but you can say around that. I was completely in love with this bike. So right now, about 9 months later, almost 10,000 kilometers further, to put it simply, I still love the bike, even after all that experience. However, of course, I did start to slowly find some flaws. I would categorize these in, let's say, really annoying, even dangerous maybe, annoying but it's fine, and not a problem for me. So the things that arose that were really annoying were, even with applying things like WD-40 and being really careful with my gas cap and everything, the keys of these motorcycles seem to bend way too easily. I'm not sure if this is a problem on other bikes, I'm not sure if it's just mine, but I've had to create 2 new keys right now. It's not that expensive, but it's just annoying that I have to do it. I'm just scared I'm gonna snap the old ones right now. So the Kawasaki ER6F is a 2-cylinder and it vibrates a ton. That's just what 2-cylinders do. So I can't fully blame the bike, but it is something that annoys me quite a ton, especially at highway speeds. Tingly hands is a very common thing for me, and that's just not a fun ride. This is the 2016 model, and it doesn't have a gear indicator. Whilst mine has a screen with ECU information like my speed, they don't include a gear indicator. This might be because there's different rollouts of the bike that don't even have the digital stuff anyways, but it would have been a nice thing to have, especially as a beginner. That's about it actually. Those are the things that really annoy me about this bike. Not that much. Not that important. There are some other things that, well, you'll notice them, but it's not that bad. For chain maintenance, for example, seeing your front sprockets is kind of hard to see without taking apart a lot of things. There are third-party solutions for this, and I am running one of these, so it's way easier to keep my sprockets in check. Then again, it's not a big problem. You'll have to check once or twice anyway. It's just something I noticed. The stock windshield, it was fine actually, but it really did require you to tuck in a little bit more, especially on highways and stuff, to really be protected from the wind, whilst the ergonomics of the bike don't really encourage you to do so. They're very friendly, they're very almost naked-like. I personally just bought a new windshield. It wasn't that expensive. I bought a touring one and it's way better. Then we have the 180-degree crank sound. Even though I've tweaked my exhaust a ton, and now I've gotten it down to something that it's pretty fine. I just still think it doesn't sound incredible. This is the case for every 180-degree. I just don't think they sound that good, which for me is kind of a problem since I'm really a sound-driven guy and I really like the sound of motorcycles, but maybe to you this is very insignificant and you can just overlook this easily. Then again, it doesn't sound horrible, it just doesn't sound as good as the rest of the bikes. The things that are not a problem for me at all. I've seen some people talk about the bike not having traction control even though it's being, produced in 2016 and stuff. We figured it out by now. I really don't think you really need it, especially with this bike. It's 72 horsepower, it's not that torquey. Sure, if you're going full throttle in first or second gear, you will lift the front a little bit, but this is something you'll learn to control with throttle discipline anyway, so yeah, I don't think it's necessary. ABS though is very nice to have. Mine has it. Don't opt out for ABS. It can really save you. The handling. I've heard some people say things about the weight and the long wheelbase makes it hard to throw around. Well, I would have maybe agreed on that with you, like in the first week or two that I was handling this bike. Honestly, right now, it's perfectly nimble. You'll have to get used to it for a little bit. While not being as nimble as a naked bike, for example, sure, it is still plenty fun to ride around in the twisties. So yeah, no complaints here. Then a very important question, since I've got first-hand experience with this. Does it make a good starter bike? Personally, through my experience, I would say yes, absolutely. But this is because I had it on a 2. Then again, 47 horsepower. It was restricted when I bought it. This was perfect. It was more than enough power to begin with. And when I eventually got bored of it and I needed a little bit more to ride around, I got the restriction off. Now, if it's not A2 restricted what you're buying, I think it could be pretty risky to start on this 650. It has quite a lot of power, way more than you need as a starter, and especially if you're somebody that likes to drive fast and stuff, starting on a 650 could be a little bit risky. If you have any experience riding motorcycles, motocross or anything, this might be different. But no, if you're an absolute beginner and it's not restricted, I would probably look away. However, it is a great do-it-all machine. I've done a tour with it, went down plenty of twisties and used it for work. It handles everything great. The economics are great. You don't have to be tall for it, by the way. That's a plus. And the engine is great. There's enough torque everywhere, even in the low end, in the mid end, and it's really fun to ring out because there is that little bit of top end power on the end, so it's actually worth it to ring it out as well. It's definitely not the cheapest bike, and it's definitely not flawless, but I definitely recommend it. So yeah, there you have it. These are my experiences with the Ninja 650 ER6F, whatever you want to call it. If there's any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments. I will try to respond to everything as well as I can. Maybe I've missed something, maybe there's something you want to know still. And then for now, I would like to thank you for watching this video and maybe catch you in the next one.